How is the private jet business doing?
It was flying.
A year later, a little different story sounds
Way
like.
different story.
And then at one point, people were asking to pay in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Are they doing that shit now or no? You spent a lot of time in Africa as well. Talk a little bit about what you guys are doing there.
And I believe that's going to be like the Ibiza for Africa. You know, not only Africa is a place where you can live and where you can reside at, but you can also do business.
There's kind of a whole genre of like Afrobeats that seem to be blowing up on the global stage. What's driving that?
You know, Afrobeats, I call it, I think it's uplifting music where even though if you don't understand the words, it makes you feel good.
What are the business opportunities you see, whether it's in Ghana or kind of broader Africa? What are the big areas where you would tell them to go look? All right, guys. What's up? Bang, bang. PJ Kev in the house. What's up, man?
I'm pretty good. How you feeling?
How is the private jet business doing? That's what I want to talk about first. It was flying.
It was flying.
In 2021, everyone was flushed with cash. Everyone was getting rich. Everyone wanted a private jet. People were renting jets. They were buying jets. Yeah. You came in. You were explaining the whole thing. I was like, damn, all these dudes got jets. They must be rich. A year later, a little different story sounds
Way
like.
different story. I mean, people are still flying. It's still been sort of busy. Okay. I think right now it's probably down about 20% from what it was last year.
Same type of people are still renting jets, just 20% less of them, or has it changed a little?
It has changed a little bit. People are more conservative now when it comes to just spending on jets. You know, they now looking in, first class options and things like that. But it is busy around this time.
They got less cash. They got to look where it's going.
Right. It is busy around this time because of holidays. So it always picks up from, I would say, like beginning of November to like the end of Jan to Feb. And then it slows down again.
How have prices changed? Because there's 20% less demand. Have prices come down 20% or not really?
To be honest, prices hasn't come down yet. We're still waiting for, fuel has come down a little bit. I think it's down about 10 to 15%. But
how much does it cost to go from Miami to, let's say, New York City right now?
Right now on a G4, you probably cost about anywhere from like $26,000 or $30,000. On like a mid-size, it'll be anywhere between like 12 to like 18, around that range. But before, I remember when New York to Miami was 15 grand, to 17 grand on a G4. So we haven't
doubled basically.
Yeah, so we haven't seen that yet, but it's definitely coming down. I would say. Slowly but surely, it'll come down.
And then at one point, people were asking to pay in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Are they doing that shit now or no? No. Straight dollars.
Straight dollars. Yeah, with everything going on in cryptocurrency, a lot of people just decided to, just transfer their money out into like USDT or USDC and just hold. Before I was accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and, other coins. I'm like, nah.
So you won't even accept the other stuff now?
Nah, I won't. I'm just right now just USDT or USDC. I won't accept BTC or Ethereum right now.
What percentage of customers are paying in stablecoins versus like just traditional dollars?
Well, for me, last year compared to now, it was probably about 40% of people was paying with crypto.
Wow.
You know what I mean? A lot of people was paying with crypto. Now,
nothing.
Nobody, yeah,
nobody.
So,
and then has there been a change in like where people are flying from or to? Have you seen like an increase in certain cities or a decrease in certain cities?
No, not really. But I think it's all about what's going on in different. People are still coming down to Miami. Miami has not really changed. I see a lot of people now flying into like Aspen a lot. But that always been like a busy city. Hasn't really changed as much.
And so this is all renting jets. What about the price of the private jet? Like if someone wanted to buy an actual plane, has that changed at all?
Yes, people actually are still looking to buy to take advantage of the tax credit, believe it or not. But I think, next year the tax bracket turns until 80%. So
you won't be able to write off 100%.
Yeah, it'll be
80.
Yes, it'll be an 80% depreciation. So people are still trying to take advantage of that.
They're trying to rush in before the end of the year?
Right. Try to rush in before the end of the year. There's not much availability out there. I think that'll open up next year, sometime in the first quarter. Just a lot of people are trying to get rid of their assets and things like that, due to the market. But yeah, it's been a steady race, It's been steady.
And you spent a lot of time in Africa as well. Talk a little bit about what you guys are doing there and like, why are you so interested in Ghana?
Well, I'm from Ghana, and I believe that that's like going to be like the leading, destination, such as like the Ibiza for Africa. I believe, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to real estate, I believe like the demand is just going higher and higher and higher. So for me personally, I decided to build apartment complexes in Ghana. Ghana. So I already built 12 units in basically the West Legon area in Ghana. And I'm now just basically just focusing on real estate out there right now. I think, the demand of, people wanting to go back home just to, see Africa, to visit Africa, to figure out where they're from, their heritage. A lot of people were going there to see like the Cape Coast Castle and see like how the slaves were enslaved and things like that with the history. So a lot of people are going to Africa, believe it or not, just to get that sense of like history, that belief, or they just want to party.
Yeah. So talk to me about, in Ghana specifically, how similar or different is it than Nigeria? Nigeria is the only country that really, like, I would consider from a Western perspective that I've gone to, that people would be like, if they say they're going to Africa, right? Nigeria. And when I went to Lagos, one of my big takeaways was people are so happy there.
Yeah.
Right? And especially when you come from the Western world and then you go and you see Nigeria, like you're like, man, this is so different than a New York City, a Miami or whatever, just in terms of infrastructure, the way people live, like all this stuff. But damn, are these people happy? And like there's just like, it sounds stupid, but like there's like a vibe to it.
Right.
Right? And you're kind of like, yo, I like this place.
Right.
Right? Is Ghana very similar to that?
Ghana is similar to that. People are happy, but Ghana's more chilled than than Nigeria. I think Nigeria is kind of like the New York City.
Yeah.
And I would say like Ghana is more like a LA mixed with a Miami, if that makes sense. Because they definitely still like to party. You know what I mean? Everybody loves to party.
I've seen your Instagram stories.
Yeah, we love to party. But it's more chilled and more relaxed. And people are happy, believe it or not. Even though they have little, they have, not as much as we have in the Western world. It's just like an energy that we just have that we just happy creatures. We just, I think of course, it's the weather. I always say, like, anywhere is, like, hot, people are, like, more nice. But just our culture, we just more, like, just happy people.
And then when you say it's more entertainment, this is like nightclubs and music venues?
Yeah,
or what's
so like
the
nightclubs, you have festivals, a lot of festivals going on. I actually own a festival out there with my partners called Upfest in Ghana right now. And just a lot of people just, want to party. So there's a nightclub scene. You have the restaurant scene that's going crazy now in Ghana, which is kind of like, that's like a new brunch vibe and party vibe that, a lot of people are like, going to. But yeah, there's a lot of festivals going on. Just to name a few, Afrochella, you have Afro Nation, you have
Afrochella's a thing?
Yeah, Afrochella's a
thing.
I like that. Yeah. Shout out to them. They're my people. So they're really, really cool. But yeah, so like we are just trying to bring, people back home and to like realize that, not only Africa is a place where you can live and where you can reside at, but you can also do business.
How much of Ghana's like rise in popularity, business, economic impact, maybe in Nigeria as well, is what I'll call natives who never left versus natives who left and now are coming back versus somebody who actually never has lived or was born in one of these countries?
To be honest with you, the natives that have left and came back are the people that are thriving the most.
They're driving a lot of this.
They're driving a lot of this.
Okay.
Now, the natives that live there personally, they are basically trying to adjust to the new change because they've been stuck in their ways for just so long. And then mostly it's just like a referral. So like if I go to Ghana and I tell you like, hey, I know that we can make, X amount of dollars doing this real estate flip, and you be like, okay, what, really? Have you done it before? Yes. I show you the numbers. You be like, wow, these numbers are really, really impressive. And then you come back and you bring your team. So I think it's just basically everybody just sharing information. And that's just so important right now. Just the information that you receive when you go to Ghana. And it's all about who you go to Ghana with. That's super important as well.
Explain that more.
So who you go to Ghana with is super important because you get to see different perspectives of, like for me, if I take you to Ghana, yes, I'm going to show you the entrepreneurial way. I'm going to show you different business ventures that you can get into, but I'm also going to show you the nightlife. I'm also going to show you the festivals. I'm also going to introduce you to people that are really moving and shaking in Ghana. Now, if you go to someone that just wants to have a good time, all you gonna do is spend money and just have a good time. Mm-hmm. So it's a different perspective that you get the outlook of Ghana when you actually go there with different people.
And how much is this like most countries I've been to where there's urban areas, there's rural areas, there's kind of the business area of a city? Like, is it very similar in that sense, or is it more kind of flat and there's less maybe contrast between the most extremes of wealth and poverty within a country?
Yeah, I mean, places like Ghana and Nigeria, you are going to see a significant wealth gap. Mm-hmm. I think now it's changing to somewhat of a middle class because a lot of people from, Europe and a lot of people from America is actually moving back. Mm-hmm. So you still have that middle class, but you do see it is a large wealth gap, right?
There's a large wealth gap in the United States too, right? But I think part of what people from the Western world, we're ignorant. Like we don't, if you've never gone, I've never gone to Ghana. I don't know what it's like. And so there's almost this like perception, whether it's from the media or things you read online or whatever. And so the more that you can understand, hey, it's probably more similar than different in a lot of ways. I think it helps people realize like we're all human.
Right.
The human experience is pretty similar.
Nah, for sure.
And I guess like, is remote work and like online businesses and stuff, is that having a big impact or not really?
Yeah, actually right now, a leading industry that I've been looking to get into is the fintech industry. Mm-hmm. That's been having a serious impact in just Africa, period. But online businesses are starting to come out there. I mean, Twitter had their headquarters in Ghana for a while before the shutdown. So yeah, I mean, you do have businesses that's looking to jump into the African space. I think that, we're not there yet, but in the future, for sure, we'll definitely get there.
Mm-hmm. And are there people who are moving back from the United States or kind of other places, whether it's in Europe or the Western world, and they're saying, hey, I must keep working at these large tech companies, but I'm just going to do it back from Ghana? Or is that not so much what people are doing?
Yeah, you have a percentage of people that actually are doing that. I think COVID really helped people to understand that you can really work effectively from home, right? Mm-hmm. So you can live anywhere as long as you have Wi-Fi and, you have the time schedule because, we're 6 hours ahead in Ghana. So as long as you have the time schedule that adjusts with if you're, flexible with your work schedule, you can definitely work anywhere around the world. So most people will say, okay, I will keep the steady income that I have in America, but I'll just move to Ghana so I'm able to, number one, take this money that I'm making in dollars and I'm able to scale it because, we have a city right now, we spend money in cities, which is the Ghana currency. If you're making in dollars, right, now your dollars is 15-1, which is a big gap, right? So now for your $1, you're only spending 15 cities. So, that's a large gap. So now you're able to spend more, do more. You're able to invest a little bit more. And I think that's why most people understand that, okay, if I can continue to make my income, whether it's in the Western world, whether it's in Europe, whether it's Germany, whatever it is, and I could take that income to Ghana, I can be able to invest more, I can do more things out in Ghana.
Those people are living like kings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, kings and queens, yeah.
Yeah, like what is the person who, let's just say, has like an average tech salary, I don't know, maybe 150,000 probably is like the average salary across all, levels of seniority plus roles. What does that buy you in Ghana? Like, are you like, I got a 12-bedroom mansion. I got, a full staff. I got, 6 cars. Like,
to be honest with you, Ghana is coming pretty expensive. So if you basically the equivalent to someone here making, 60 to 80,000 in Ghana, US dollars can take you a long way, right? But don't get it twisted. Ghana now are charging in US dollars. So, you know what I mean? You have to really, it all depends on your lifestyle as well, too, right? But, you do have to make a significant amount of money to live in Ghana, even though, they still make it work with the little that they have, which is so impressive when you see it. Like, I can buy, with 100 cities, I can buy my food, I can use it for transportation, and I could save a little bit. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But to your point, you don't need to make a substantial amount of money to live there, but you do have to, I would say, at least make $50K a year so you can live comfortable. Right.
I mean, and that's a big number, right? Even in the United States, that's higher than the average salary. And so it's not, quote unquote, dirt cheap, as there's a lot of people in America who would say, oh, I'm gonna move to Thailand, or pick your place around the world that people seem to gravitate towards because they think it's incredibly inexpensive.
Right.
This doesn't sound like it's that, but you can make a decent living and also kind of have the nice things in life as well.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Talk to me about the music. I was telling you earlier that in 2016 maybe or so, I went to Nigeria and I met CK. He was not CK that he is now. And I've seen his rise, and it's been incredible to watch kind of from afar. And now he's doing, multi-country tours and like all this stuff. But his music, there's kind of a whole genre of like Afrobeats. There's a couple of these different genres or artists that seem to be blowing up on the global stage. What's driving that?
I think, to be honest with you, the sounds that we are hearing now, we in Africa, we like to use a lot of instruments, right? So I think the instruments that we're using is gravitating to the vibe and to like the uplifting music. Afrobeats, I call it, I think it's uplifting music where it allows you to dance again, it allows you to feel good. So that energy with the instruments and like the live band, I think all that came from Africa, which is transitioning to the Western world. But I kind of knew it was already going to be like this when it comes to like music-wise, because I already seen the transition when I was traveling to London, when I was going to Dubai, and I started to like hear Afrobeats. I was like, okay, the next real music shift has to be Afrobeats. And people like Burna Boy, Davido, and Wizkid has basically changed that sound to uplifting music and made people like, even though if you don't understand the words, it makes you feel good. You know what I mean? And that's super duper important, especially this day and age where, you kind of want to have uplifting music so you could go about your day a little bit better. So I think that just comes with like the instruments, that comes with like the different sound. And people are like just, I guess, getting tired of like the same old kind of music that they've been hearing for over the past years. They want to hear something new, and that Afrobeats and that Afro fusion is just like taking over. Yeah.
Is it almost sounds like the music geographically moves, right? Like it starts in Africa on the continent, and then all of a sudden it ends up in Europe and London, Dubai, like, you know what I mean? And then you're like, hey, it's gonna migrate to the US. Is there something to that, or is that just me being an idiot?
It's just people. It's people just transitioning. Like, you come to Ghana, right? But you don't live in Ghana. You go back to London. You tell a friend, hey, I just heard this new CK song. I just heard this new Burna Boy song, Wizkid song. Take a listen to it. They like it. And it's just like, especially with social media around, like you could get the music out way faster. You know what I mean?
Why?
So, because of just a lot of people are tuned into what new sound is coming out. So, when you hear like a Burna Boy Last Live with a sample on it, you know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, I could relate to it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just now like it's just transitioning. You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, look what Wizkid did with Essence. It was like a global hit. Everybody was playing that song. So I think
there's a number of songs like this in this kind of broader genre that when I've seen them blow up, I've said to a friend, like CK is the one that obviously I think I've paid attention to the most just because I'd met him. And I said, oh, do you know who that is? And like, nah. And I'll play the song and like, oh, I heard that before.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting how in the US, people may be like, they may know the artist, but they don't actually know the song. Here it almost is in reverse.
Yeah. I think that will change soon. You know what I mean? That's just repetitive. They got to hear it more. They got to put a face to a name. That will change soon.
Who are the big artists right now that you're like, if you were a betting man, who are like 4 or 5 artists that you're like, yo, these are the people who are gonna blow up?
I think right now I would say Burna Boy. He's did amazing. He's doing amazing still. Wizkid, Davido. Is a Nigerian artist called Askay.
Okay.
He's doing really, really amazing like new sounds. And to be honest with you, South African artists, I don't know all their names, but they're blowing up too as well. Yeah, they have a new sound called Pompliano. And like when I went to Ghana, I started like hearing this like new like instrument, kind of like whistle blowing, and like it's crazy how like that scene is actually blowing up as well. But yeah, just to name a few, I think, it's definitely more out there in Ghana, like the Stone Boys and other people that blown up as well. But, just to name a few, but it's a lot of people that's channeling into this direction of music, and I think they will do definitely well in the future.
How much of this is similar to the United States? So I watched a documentary. I'm dangerous. I got the internet, right? So I watched a documentary. I think it is the home or like the creation point of drill music all comes from Chicago, from I think O Block is what people call it, right? And it was basic, from what I understood, it was like 5 or 6 friends that each kind of blew up individually, somewhat in sequence, but it came out of gang battles, essentially, right? Like there was one project versus another project that was close by, and actually one of the first songs that blew up, and one of the guys went on a global tour off of, was like basically a battle cry for this block versus the other.
Yeah, Chief Keef, I think it was Chief Keef, yeah.
Yeah, and so like when you see that, you're like, oh shit. And in the documentary, they said, they're like, basically there's a bunch of white kids who were all singing this like battle cry for a gang in Chicago. Yeah. And they had no clue because they were just going to a concert, they liked the music, whatever. But what struck me was like, there was 5 or 6, 10, however many it was, all in one neighborhood, and there's like a probability aspect to it, right? Of just like, hey, I was born here, I never left here, we're all friends. Right. You're 16, I'm 14, that guy's 21, whatever. You pop, he pops, I pop. Like next thing you know, this music is global. Right. Is that what's happening here too? Is like these people all grew up together, or is it maybe not as serendipitous?
Well, not as serendipitous like how you said, but basically like more of just coming from, it's almost 200 million people in Nigeria, right? So
we'll be more than the United States by 2050.
Yeah. It's a lot of people in Nigeria. a lot.
A lot of young people with internet access that understand how to use mobile phones.
Exactly. So they're coming from Nigeria. And I think drill music actually started in London. When I used to go to London, like in 2017, 2018, I used to hear that drill music. I just didn't really like. It wasn't really my favorite kind of music. So I didn't really listen to it. But drill music actually, I think, started from London. And then it transitioned to, the Western world. Again, I think everything always starts first, like overseas, right?
Really? Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because when I usually like hear stuff first when I go overseas, then the Western world. I don't know if they have.
You're saying Americans don't have good taste?
No, I'm not. I just think the producers are different. I think it comes with like the society. I think it just all that plays a factor, right? But from my understanding, the music out of Nigeria and South Africa are the leading music right now because they have positioned themselves to market to the world. I think Ghana. We Ghanaians, as Ghanaian artists, they have trouble of marketing to the world. Now, they're popular in Ghana. Don't get it twisted. They're really, really popular in Ghana. But to the world, I think they lack that marketing.
What do you think is like if you could wave a magic wand and change, what would help them be able to be globally recognized?
To be honest with you, it just comes with a strategic, online presence. Doing more shows internationally, and just connecting with, producers all around the world and not just in Africa. I think, if I could change anything, I'll just be saying, hey, I'll just start up a marketing company and say, hey, I like to market African, artists to America. And that'll be the company there. But, I'm not really positioned right now to jump into the music industry. I will pretty soon. I just have a lot on my plate, but I'm thinking about definitely helping out in the music industry in some way.
How much of the dream, if you will, if you're a music artist in one of these African countries, is to get out of that country and get into the U.S. market, get into the European market, Middle Eastern market, versus there's still young people who say, hey, if I dominate in Ghana or I dominate in Nigeria, like that is a really important milestone and I could build a career off of just that. Anything past that may be icing on the cake, but like that's big enough of a market and enough for me to build my career and I'd be happy with that.
I think Africa is definitely big enough a market to build just there. But I think every artist's dream is to have their music all around the world, globally, right? You want people in Australia to know you. You want people in Dubai. You want people in America. So I think they look at the American, culture like, hey, this is my dream. And if I make it here, then, I made it. But it is still some artists out there that's dominating Africa in general that's making a killing. And just doing tours around Africa. Going to, Tanzania, Kenya, all these places and just dominating. And their sound is really, really their dominant sound. So, yeah, it is to your point, you have different aspirations and dreams for artists, but I think every artist wants their music globally, to have a global sound.
How do they make money? Is it the same ways that here in the U.S., touring, merchandise, streaming, things like that?
So I know they're still trying to figure out the streaming out there, but a lot of people make money from just touring, doing a lot of private events, weddings, shows as well. They haven't, it's crazy because I'm thinking about it now, they haven't really tapped into like the merchandise and like online, not that I know of, but a lot of, artists out there have, some very, very big endorsements and they make a lot of money from endorsements out there as well. I think they haven't really tapped into the online. That's pretty interesting because I haven't really seen that.
Yeah. And which I'm assuming is a big piece of U.S.-based artists, right?
Right.
Is basically you got your touring, you got your streaming revenue, but then you probably, and maybe you got like some YouTube or something, which is kind of streaming, but really it's like, hey, can you sell things to your audience, right? Whether that's merchandise or other things. And so having a website, being able to go direct, all that stuff, especially for the independent artists, is like a huge piece of it.
Right. And I think endorsements too help as well. You know what I mean? A lot of people that want to channel these, corporations and want to align their brands with, heavy endorsements. I think that helps as well too.
What are the business opportunities you see, whether it's in Ghana or kind of broader Africa? If somebody's in Europe, the US, maybe even the Middle East or Asia, South America, wherever, and they're looking and they're saying, hey, I want to go and figure out what these opportunities are, like, what are the big areas where you would tell them to go look? This episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep. Good sleep is a game changer, and the 8 Sleep Pod is the best sleep machine. I sleep on it every single night. A great night of sleep allows you to be healthier, be more rested, and have more energy throughout the day. And on the brand new 8 Sleep Pod 3, you can sleep as cold as 55 degrees Fahrenheit or as hot as 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the secret of thermoregulation. Better sleep, better energy. Get yourself an 8 Sleep. You can go to 8sleep.com/pomp today to go ahead and get $150 off your order. 8sleep.com/pomp. Not only do I sleep on it every night, it literally changed my life, and I begged the founders to let me invest in the company. 8sleep.com/pomp. Go get yourself an 8 Sleep Pod and get a better night of sleep.
Definitely real estate for sure. That's number one. I think real estate is key because it's like a house deficit. And I think it's so much opportunity to build skyscrapers, amusement parks, which I was thinking about doing. So much, undeveloped land that we can, tackle together. Another industry that I've been looking at is the agriculture industry, farming. I think, as far as when it comes to agriculture and food, I mean, that's not going anywhere. So why not be in an industry where you can basically, even if you just focus on feeding, Africa in general, I think that's a great market to go into as well. I'm not too familiar with about the oil and gas industry, but I've been hearing about the oil and gas industry as well, just going back and forth out there. But those top three, I would say.
What about risks? So when I was in Nigeria, one of the things that I was told by the guy who was kind of taking us around, and he was very clear. He's like, look, this doesn't happen all the time. But he's like, there are definitely situations, especially in oil and gas, where there was kidnappings and all kinds of things that in the United States, most people wouldn't think are, immediate threats. It happens. But I think that people coming from other parts of the world, that's one of the things that is just like the fear of the unknown, right? Same thing in South America or other places. If you're not familiar with the culture, you may not know the native language, right? You don't have a network of people. You're like, I don't know. So like, how do you think about what risks actually exist versus maybe what the thought process of risk would be?
I think that all comes back to who you go out there with and like what information that you have before you go into these different type of businesses. I've been hearing a lot of like crazy stuff happening in the mining business. So I kind of want to stay away from that. You know, I've been hearing some crazy stuff.
What's the craziest thing you heard? No names.
No names, but I heard that basically they went to a mine together to mine some, I don't know if it was gold or something else, and basically they had some people there that was on the mine that they went to and saying that this belongs to them, and the people that they went out there was just like started a fight about whose land was which. And, you know, yeah, it was gold there or whatever it was there, but it's just like, just imagine you going into your mining facility and you trying to mine gold or whatever you're trying to mine, and some people are there saying that no, that just belongs to them. So just to fight over land, I think you just got to be careful with that. Kidnapping for sure. You know, I think in Africa, period, you just have to really, really move like low key until you can really position yourself to be out there. But that just goes to show, like, you know, who you go out there with, what kind of, you know, people is around you, what type of information that you have, and just knowing what you're about to get yourself into before you actually do it.
When I was in Nigeria, it happened for sure 2 times I remember. I think a 3rd time as well. Or actually, no, 3 times. When I came in the country, you got to have a paper. And I can't remember if I had a yellow one or a green one, but it basically was all the vaccines, the immunizations, all stuff.
Yellow fever.
And whatever color I had, everyone else had the other color, right? So like me and this other guy from America came, 2 white guys on the plane, right? We're going. And we got to the woman who was taking the papers, and she was like, no, stop, like, stand over here. And we stood there for like 25 minutes. And I was like,
yeah,
why are we standing here, right? Everyone else is going by.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, oh. I took $20 out, I gave it to her. She's like, all right, go ahead. Right. And I was like, okay, got it. Like, introduction to the country, right? And I remember being like, man, like, this place is wild. And then a couple days later, we were going to dinner. And it was me, my friend, and then our friend who was Nigerian and lived in Lagos. And we were in an Uber. And so we got stopped by the police.
Oh, my gosh.
The police officer got in the car, and he was like, pull over here, whatever. He had gotten our friend out or whatever. He like made the Uber driver pull over. He was giving a whole thing. We didn't understand what he was saying. And so at some point, our friend called like a cousin whose dad was like at the police station or something, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're good. Like, they let us go. So I'm like, all right, I'm 0 for 2 in these situations. And then the 3rd one, which I still have the video on my phone, was we were in an Uber coming back. We went to a Y Combinator event in Lagos, which in hindsight was like, that's like a hot spot, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, anyone who is not from Nigeria in the tech industry is going to be at this event. And so I'm sure what they did is they just set up checkpoints, you know, whatever. Yeah. And so when we were leaving, we were in an Uber, and they stopped us. They made us get out of the car.
Wow.
And like, you know, again, I think I'm intelligent enough to know when you're actually in a dangerous situation versus like someone's just like, hey, you know, you gonna hang out here for a little bit and then we're gonna let you go. And it was very much the latter. I never felt like I was in danger or anything like that. But they asking for money.
Yeah.
And so my friend and I were like, you know, kind of just like, it's the principle. I don't want to give you any money and, you know, whatever. So I took my phone out and I started recording. But like recording me.
Oh, God.
And then I turned, I was like, we're getting shaken down or whatever. And these dudes were ducking out of the video. And so they're laughing. You know what I mean? Like it was a very friendly situation given the context.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, this is something that people talk about in the Western world that just like, you don't get stopped by the police and like, give me $20, right?
Hell no.
But on the flip side, I've been to a lot of countries. India, I've been to all over Eastern Europe, same shit. It is not a unique thing to Nigeria or an African country. This is just normal human nature, right?
It's actually a part of the culture, and they don't look at it as how we look at it as.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, you just giving money. They look at it as, okay, like, you're supposed to do this.
It's a tax, basically.
It's like a tax.
Yeah.
But it is because that the police system out there are so underpaid.
Yes.
Right? And they feel like, you know, of course they should be paid higher, but it is a tax. Like, you know, you You passing through.
In America, we give the government the money and then they give it to the police. Here it's a little bit more direct.
You're getting direct, yeah.
But the reason why this is so funny is because I have a lot of friends who come from various parts of the world that live here in the United States now. And one of the jokes is always somebody has a relative that when they got to the United States, they got pulled over for, whatever. They didn't use their blinker or they went a little too fast or whatever. And they don't realize that's not how America works. And so like I have multiple friends who would be like my uncle or my dad or whoever like got pulled over and he was like, oh, I got a bottle of liquor. Like I'll just give it to the cop and like he'll let me, because that's what you do in other countries, right?
Yeah.
The cops here are like, bro, that's a bribe.
Yeah, hell no, you go to jail right away.
That's not cool, right?
Yeah.
And so as far as I know, every single time a friend has told me this story, it hasn't been a bad thing. It's just like the cop's like, no, like that's not what we do here. But the cultural differences is to me, it's cool because you get to see that different cultures have different kind of mechanisms, different ways how people look at their relation to other citizens in their country or their city or whatever. But it makes it difficult when people go from the Western world to, let's say, Ghana or Nigeria and vice versa.
Right.
And so it's just, I don't know, it's like an education gap that the more people understand, the less shocking it is when you experience it.
Right. And it's to be honest with you, if you never really experience it, it's hard to tell someone that this is what happens. You know what I mean? So like, I just tell my friends, like, listen, if the police stop you, if I'm not there, number one, just call me, let me know, like, you know what I mean? Let me know what's going on. But like, it's okay to give them money. Like, that's not normal. Now, you don't have to give them $100, right? But yeah, it's a tax.
Yeah.
We don't look at it as, I mean, it is kind of like bribery if you think about it, but it's in African culture, that's normal. That's just a normal thing. You know what I mean?
It's a tip.
It's like a tip. You know what I mean?
Tip sounds better than bribe, I think, right?
They always say like in Ghana, like something small for the boys.
Something small for the boys? That's a saying? Something small for the boys?
It's small for the boys. So you just,
Yo, when you see me in the streets of Ghana, I got something for all y'all. I like that though. Because I think it also speaks to the fact that like it's not predatory in like a malicious way. Yeah. Right? To what you're saying is like it's almost more cultural and no different. Right now in New York City, we're recording this during the wintertime and all my friends in New York, you know what they're talking about? Hey, bro, how much money you giving to the doorman this year? Right? Is it $50, $100, $200? What's appropriate? What's not? Damn, I want to give them just enough so that they're not mad, but I also don't want to go broke giving them money. There's like a cultural thing in New York City where the doorman of all of the high-rise buildings, there's an expectation. If you don't give them money for Christmas, you not getting help. Oh, you need that package? Get your ass down here, come get it, right? Oh, this, what? And again, I'm exaggerating to a degree, but like there's this cultural thing in New York City where the residents of the high-rise buildings give money to the doorman. And many of them do it because they're happy to do it because these people are protecting them, they're helping them, they're like doing all this stuff. They're probably underpaid, right? So there's this element of like the residents are going to help out, whatever. But until you see it, or until you've lived in a building in New York,
you don't really understand it. Yeah.
What do you mean y'all are all debating on how much money to give the doorman? And then the joke is always like, bro, you think there's like 2 doormen. And then you realize around Christmas time, like, man, they got like 12 people working.
You gotta give them that Christmas gift. And they really, like, the doormen are expecting that. You know what I mean?
100%.
So when we look at it as, it's all jokes, they really expecting that gift. And they might use that for their family, whatever they got to use it for, but they really expecting that gift. You know what I mean? We laughing about it, but they like, I'm really expecting to get something, you know what I mean? From
a little something for the boys. That's the greatest phrase I've ever heard. A little
something for the boys, yeah, that's what they say in Ghana.
All right, so when you think of Ghana specifically, what are some of the things that you think are going to happen over the next couple of years? Like, obviously, you've got businesses there, you got some real estate there, you're spending more time there. Is it something where you're like, okay, here's 2 milestones, and this is going to be when Ghana kind of arrives on the global stage, or is it a little unclear at the moment in terms of what those milestones would be?
No, it's definitely clear for me. I think number one, the infrastructure will be at an all-time high, just because of how fast they're building now. I think for sure, it'll definitely be the leading, if it's not going to be the leading, but it's definitely going to be the leading entertainment place in Africa, in the whole Africa, such as like Ibiza, especially for like December, Easter now is picking up. I think in the next few years, you'll definitely see more major companies come out there and more franchise come out there as well. They just opened out their first Burger King is out there now. Domino's came out there. KFC is out there. They haven't yet to open a McDonald's yet.
There's no McDonald's?
There's no McDonald's in Ghana.
Damn.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, McDonald's. What's up with that? Is it because McDonald's doesn't want to be there yet? Or is it because Ghana doesn't want McDonald's there?
I don't think they understand the potential yet.
Interesting.
I don't think. I think it's something that, people have tried, but it hasn't been successful.
What about the food? And one of the things I think about is like, Americans are stupid, right? We think everyone likes American food. So we're like, hey, let's go take McDonald's and put it all over the world, right? Oh shit, y'all like coffee? We got Starbucks, right? Like whatever. There's a lot of places in the world like, get your shitty ass food out of here. Or another thing that I love to do is whenever I travel, you go to the McDonald's in that city, and not because you're trying to get like a cheeseburger, but they actually change some of the items on the menu based on whatever the local culture is.
Wholly different menu.
Yeah, and so it's just interesting to me. Like I remember I went in India, and they had a veg and non-veg menus because culturally, vegetarian is a huge thing, and so like literally it was like laid out that way, and I was like, man, that tells you something about the culture. Now I didn't get anything because I'm gonna go eat real food, but like there's like a data point there.
No, for sure.
So to not have McDonald's there, or at least not have them be popular, I wonder how much of it is like the people don't think that food tastes good or would go and actually eat it versus McDonald's hasn't figured out yet there's a big market opportunity.
I think, number one, we always eat fresh in Africa, right? Like we typically make our own food, we cook it, it's always gonna be fresh, right? But I think just the option to have a McDonald's for like, for the kids to try. Like it's kids out there that never ate at McDonald's. Never had a Happy Meal, never been to the experience and nothing. No cheeseburger, no chicken. If you think about that, that's kind of crazy, right? So just having the option to have that, and they can have different recipes because you go to McDonald's in, London, India is different from what we have here. They use like kind of like the local recipes and mix it up a little bit. I know I went to I think I was in Sweden or Denmark, and they had mustard, and I was like, what is this? It's not a cheeseburger. They had mustard on it. I was like, I'm good. You know what I mean? But like, it was just like different places that I've been around the world, and I kind of like analyzed like the same thing you do. I analyzed the menu to see like, okay, why, and I always question myself is that why in these places they have this here, but in America we have that, right? So for instance, in Denmark or Sweden, wherever I was at, they had mustard. And I was like, I never had a cheeseburger with mustard on it. You know what I mean? Like, not at McDonald's. And I was like, well, maybe that's what they like here. And that's what people like normalize as, having a cheeseburger. Instead of ketchup, they had mustard. So I was like, oh shit, so this is like the new thing out there. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I didn't like it because I'm used to like ketchup, right? But I think, to go back to your point is that we need to just have the option for kids to, try it. You know what I mean? Have the option for whether you like coffee, have a Starbucks there, just so that, foreigners or anybody come out there, they say, hey, can I go to Starbucks? Yeah, it's Starbucks.
They got one?
Yeah, they got one in Accra Mall. No, they don't have a Starbucks.
Oh, they don't have one?
No. But I'm just saying, if they did have a Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, that would be an option for someone like yourself. If you love Starbucks that wants to come to Ghana, you feel more like, okay, feel more at home, you know what I mean? A little bit.
How big is tourism there?
Very big, actually. Very big, yeah. It's increasing. Now that December has been like the popularized, the place to go is Ghana, a lot of people is coming back. And they come back throughout the year because now December prices skyrocket. So you might be able to get a flight in July that's half the cost in December, a round trip.
What is it from like a New York or Miami commercial flight?
Well, New York on Delta, last time I checked, it was about $2,700 one way.
Wow.
Yeah, Ghana's so expensive. It's crazy. We got to talk about that too. Like, airlines is I
mean, with fees and everything, that's like $6,000 just to get there and back.
It was expensive. And then I looked at first class, and it was like $4,500 to $5,000 one way. So it was about $10,000, especially in December. It's like ridiculous. Stupid. Yeah,
because the weather is like relatively mild during December.
In December is pretty nice, but just because of the festival season. It picks back up again in like April. Tickets go skyrocket again for like Easter. January kind of tends to be lower. But my question is to the airlines is that why is it so expensive to go to Africa? It's actually more expensive to go to Africa than it is to go to Dubai. And I'm kind of like, I don't understand why is it so, expensive to go there. Is it because they don't have, because I know they have they have the fleet to do it, right? I know they have, people booking, just that like their prices is like, skyrocketing.
The same distance?
No, it's actually Dubai is longer.
It's farther.
Further, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's like, doesn't make any sense when you look at it like
You think there's a conspiracy?
I think that, number one, the demand is there. So whatever the prices are, people are going to pay for it. They want to get back home. They want to see their family, bi-coastal, whatever, business. People are going to pay for it. But I just don't understand why is it priced the way it's priced. I'd like to have a sit down and like talk about that.
Well, people are going to pay. Shit, they're going to raise the prices.
Yeah, but it should be like...
Unfortunately.
And it's like, another thing is too, it's only like a couple direct flights, which, United now has, direct flights. Delta has direct flights. But there's no other airlines that has direct flights. You either got to stop in London, Amsterdam, Dubai, to go, 9
How
hours.
long is it?
9 hours from New York.
Yeah, that's
9 hours and 30 minutes.
Like once you get to like the 9 hour mark, that's like just long enough where you're like, hey, maybe I want to go through London just to chill a little.
Yeah. I mean, I did it a couple times nonstop. I was like, shit, I should have stopped.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great place to, a great place to visit, with your family. Is super safe. I think that's another thing that, people are going back there. It's definitely a safe place.
When you say safe, in Lagos, I stayed, so most of the people who are tourists in Lagos, they stay at Victoria Island.
Right.
I stayed on the mainland, maybe like a mile or so from Computer Village.
Okay.
So like further in, and I remember I was a little like, oh shit, did we make a mistake when we first got there the first night? Yeah. And we pulled up to the hotel and they had a gate. And there was armed guys with AK-47 standing at the gate. And I had actually two takeaways. One was like, why do y'all need armed guards standing at the gate, right? And the second one was like, if somebody comes up here and starts shooting, I don't think you guys appear to be the dudes who are going to be shooting back. Like, it sounds like you all may run. So like, now I'm double worried, right? Yeah. But there was a sense of like safety because there's a big iron gate around the place. There's armed guards, whatever. Like, is it the same thing in Ghana or that's not necessary?
No, it's not necessary in Ghana. Ghana's more, like I said, it's more chilled and calm. Nigeria just have they're more aggressive than Ghanaians. I'll say that.
Bro, every single Nigerian listens to this is going to be like, no, we're not.
Yeah, but they are. They have a tendency to just be more aggressive. And that's just normal. It's just their culture, it's how they grew up.
New York versus LA.
Right. You know what I mean? Just how you grew up, just your culture, just your people around you, just what you know, right? But they're not bad people, but it's just a little bit, I'll say...
Well, people from LA don't like New York, right? Like living in New York, and people from New York don't really like living in LA because it's a different pace.
I think just with that being said, it's kind of a little bit more dangerous than Ghana. So you see a lot of Nigerians now are flying to Ghana and getting places to live. And I think it's like the poverty gap, you know what I mean? In Nigeria is like bigger than Ghana, so, because there's more people.
Yeah. How many people are in Ghana?
24 million last
24?
time. Yeah.
Okay, so like basically 3 New York cities.
Yeah,
right, with all the boroughs and everything.
I'm gonna double check.
Something like that.
Be kind of accurate.
And then what's up with crypto? I think that there's a lot of people in the Bitcoin or crypto.
32 million actually.
32.
As of December 22, 32 million.
Oh, wow. So that's like 4 New York cities, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. There's a lot of people who point to a Nigeria or a Ghana as this is a prime example of a place where these technologies or something like Bitcoin could have a massive positive impact. When you go, what do you see? Do you see people using it? Are they curious but not using it? Like what's on the ground?
It's actually super, super crazy because on the ground there now, a lot of people are getting accustomed to using crypto. Now, and there's also a lot of people that don't know crypto. So I think just having it acceptable in Africa, like Africa, a lot of people use it to do like, minor transactions, nothing like major yet. But I think when it comes to that mainstream and like it to be accepted by the government, it's just that once they don't know about it, they don't want to accept it. They think it's like illegal, things happening, which, crypto is crypto, right? But I think it's definitely being used a lot in Africa. I mean, especially in Nigeria and Ghana, just because of how quick and swift the transactions go. We have something called mobile money in Ghana, where I just need your phone number and I can basically send you money, like how we send Zelle here, right? But it has like a cap, it has like a limit. But it's pretty impressive when you think about it because they was using that before we was using Zelle.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy.
And that's how they was moving their money around. But now with crypto, where I could be, I could be in New York, I could be in LA, I could be in Miami, and I could just send a transaction and they could receive it instantly. They kind of understand and see how powerful that is, right? So, I'm trying to implement that to real estate and to different businesses to understand that, hey, it's not a bad thing to accept crypto here because, with mobile money, sometimes you're not able to access that large sum of money, from a bank perspective or from, getting your money out perspective. With crypto, you can actually get your money out. I mean, of course, like USDT, the leading ones, but it's impressive that people are using it a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
And is it mostly young people?
Yeah.
And that's why the internet penetration, mobile usage, young people who are interested in this stuff, or is the government and kind of businesses they're interested as well?
A lot of younger people, yeah. Older people kind of, it's like stuck in their ways. They really don't understand it yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's always us to like, change a mentality and change a cycle.
Has the government been embracing it, abrasive to it, or they're kind of agnostic?
They're kind of not like they're not really embracing it as yet, but they're kind of understanding, the movement and like making sure that they have some type of, one skin in, one skin out in the game, like of crypto. But they're seeing it being used. You know what I mean? I think Nigeria kind of like banned it and unbanned it and, different things like that. But I know all my friends in Ghana, they're really, really, advanced when it comes to crypto and Forex, for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Who are the most like successful or well-known Ghanaians in America? Like if you had to pick 2 or 3 people, who do you think?
When you say like well-known, like business individuals?
Business, music, movies, celebrity, just like if they go back, people are like, we're proud that they are a Ghanaian.
I think mostly like the football players, a lot of like soccer players, but like, I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of people are proud of like, just like what, because for me, myself, and like Michael Blackson, like the people that's out here that's like Ghanaian, we always try to go back and like give back. You know what I mean? So anybody that's just going back and giving back, I think they're pretty, pretty known in Ghana. Yeah, well received.
It's interesting because in America, like we don't really think about Americans going and doing things in other countries with the same pride, maybe. We think about it in the sense of like sports, so Olympics, things like that. Right. But if we saw an American who was doing something crazy in London, people aren't like, hey, yo, that's American, right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But other countries, there's this like nationalistic pride that actually in some ways Americans should be and many are envious of. Right. In that when you have citizens that rally around, we're more similar than different. I think it's such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost one of the things I wish Americans had more, right? Like we care about sports. We care about some of these aspects. Obviously, we just saw the Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan and this whole situation. But it's different, right? When you talk to somebody from Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, whatever, like when they see somebody from their country go and do something great in the world, whether it's sports or not, they're like super proud. It's cool to see.
It's the culture that we live in, and like how we are prideful from knowing where we come from and knowing that, you know, someone is in the Western world still representing it, representing like the country. I think that's where it comes from. And then like, you know, it's a huge like soccer, football, you know, their fans are super, you know, super in depth of like just voting for their country. So I think that has a partake in that as well, because we have like sports here where it's just like cities, they have like a country they're supporting. You know what I mean? It's kind of like different if you think about it. Like, you know, it's like, okay, what's your favorite team? Okay, no, this is my soccer team. This is my country's team. You know what I mean? The Black Stars. So I think it's, you know, that has a major effect as well, because they're like supporting their country. And, you know, soccer is like the biggest sport out there. But yeah, I think, you know, people are prideful, and people, you know, they love to say that, you know, they're African, and whether it's from Ghana, whether it's from Nigeria, whether it's from South Africa. But, you know, people don't even notice that Elon is South African. You know that? Yeah, so like, people don't even know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think that the only time it ever comes up, whether fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you view it, is people will crack jokes and say things like, an African-American owns Twitter now or something, right?
Yeah.
And like, I get it, the internet culture or whatever, but there is this thing of like, whether you look at Elon and he didn't come straight to America from South Africa. He went to Canada and the whole thing. There's many other entrepreneurs who have done something very similar, but also like the Fortune, I think it's the Fortune 500, I think is the grouping. 50% of the CEOs are immigrants, I think.
Yeah.
It's either that or it's of billion-dollar companies, 50% of the CEOs are immigrants. There's some metric, I'll get it wrong. And then if you actually look at like, you know, who runs some of these businesses, like who's running Google? Who's running Microsoft, right? These are not American-born executives. These, in many cases, recently has been people from India, but these are folks who came from outside of our country and came here.
Right.
Which, if you look at the history of America, like, well, hey, newsflash, motherfuckers, what y'all think been happening in America for 250 plus years, right? People been coming from other places, coming here and doing awesome things, and so like it's more the trend line than it is some outlier situation.
Right. I think the opportunity that when you come from a different country and you realize the opportunity that you can, tackle out here, it makes you want to work way, way harder and smarter. And then you kind of understand that, culturally, you kind of understand that you didn't have this opportunity in this country. So you have to make your all and your best when you have an opportunity in the Western world. And vice versa, right? Well, is an American going back to Africa to do an investment, they know that they have the Western world, but it may not work out. So when they go out there to figure out the opportunity in Africa, they put their all in. And I think that's what we're seeing as far as the transition for younger Americans, African descent.
It's fantastic. Where can we send people to find you on the internet?
PJ Kev, Instagram, Twitter is PJ Kev Approve, and my website is pjkev.com.
And if they're interested in jets?
Jets, Approved Jets is my company. Charter at approve-jets.com.
Charter
at approve-jets.com.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you coming
on. Appreciate you guys for having me.
I learn something every single time, so we're definitely bringing your ass back. I need more knowledge.
Information is key. Information is key. Appreciate it.